Here we go again. Some meanderings. I think this is my fifth one. If you hear an ambient noise, sort of a white noise kicking in, that's a little small heater I have by my feet. It's cold. It's snowing here. It's been freezing the last week or so. So I'm workflowing medieval. I have a bunch of images of two brothers, a 3-year-old boy, and I think the older boy is 7 or 8. And mom ordered an album. So the mom's got 4 kids. The 2 daughters came in during Fairy Day a couple months ago, and she just loved them. She ordered an album for the girls, and then she wanted to bring the 2 boys in, which she did, and she ordered the same album. So it's kind of cool. She's a doctor too. Interesting to note that a lot of my clients have been from the medical field. I've noticed that over the decades, either loosely related, or doctors, specialists, psychiatrists, pharmacists, dentists. For some reason, we seem to get a lot of people, they just seem to love photography. So I have a theory. And while I'm workflowing this, I'm going to explain to you my theory as to why the medical field seems to be more into portraiture. And my theory is this, that people in that field, they work with healing. They're sort of in the healing arts, so to speak. So I believe that gives you a different sort of mindset and or appreciation. I say that because I compare it to, say, lawyers and accountants, and oddly enough, engineers. We seem to get a lot of engineers, but we don't seem to get many financial planners and accountants and lawyers, because they're working in abstract concepts. Like law is an abstract concept. Accounting is math. And yeah. Anyway, so just a little side observation. So I ran my workflow. I'm not going to explain it because this is just about me rambling on and you listening to me. So there you go. Hopefully you're listening to me. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of what I have to say. And as I go through these, this little boy here, the mom was really, really concerned that he wasn't going to sit still. But man, he was amazing. He was right into it. He was a good little kid. He was just right into it. And when I give them the sword, you see each boy has a sword. They love the sword. They just love it. So they're right into it. Also, in part because they get to carry the big sword, which is kind of cool. You can see my kicker light coming through this hole in the castle wall, the window, and it's hitting this boy. So yeah, I'm a little rusty because I don't do as many medieval portraits as I do fairy. So when I workflow them, I had to recalibrate my brain and sort of get things back on track as far as that's concerned. And multitask. That's what we're doing. We're multitasking. I've done so many forest fairies that it's literally second nature to me. So the medieval portraits, I don't go half sepia. I go half black, and I want them to be sort of dark and moody, as you can tell. Bum, bum, bum. So anyways, yeah, that's how that works. And I want to talk to you about... Oh, I screwed that up. All right, see, I get distracted now. I got to put a little glow on the swords. I forgot to do that. A couple things I want to talk to you about while I'm doing my meandering and workflow, and that is that I've been thinking about. That's a weird concept. Bear with me. I think you're going to find it interesting, and it's got to do with your voice. So I can't really explain it unless I go back to 1991 and then go to the last few years. So in 1991, I sobered up, and one of the things I did is I joined Toastmasters. And that was one of the best things I could have ever done. Became a pretty competent public speaker. Went from being petrified to being, capable. And it was an amazing skill set, and I encourage anybody to do that. And it sort of ties in with where I'm going with this thing to do with the voice. So back around, it was in early 2018, so just a few years ago, I was doing a speech at Toastmasters, and it was a particularly good speech. It was one of my better ones. And this guy named Dan Vincent, who was a member of Toastmasters, I knew him, but I didn't know him really well. We've since then become very good friends. And he came up to me after the meeting was over, and it was after I'd done my speech, and he goes, "Rob, he said, I want to offer you something." And he offered me a ticket to go to a 3-day conference in Los Angeles, which was coming up in March, I believe. I think he offered this to me in January. And he just wanted to offer it to me as a gesture, as a kind gesture. He thought that, I would really get a lot from it. What it was it was a Roger Love Voices of Success. Roger Love is a Hollywood-based vocal coach. He's done vocal coaching for some famous celebrities who needed help with whatever they were doing, movie roles and what have you. He's done a few big names. So anyways, I thought, well, this looks bizarre. Who goes to a 3-day conference based on the voice? So I thought, well, whatever. He's offering it to me. He's very generous. This ticket was worth like $1,000. And there was a couple of hundred people there. So I went, and it was kind of mind-blowing, actually. It was kind of interesting. And what happened was there was I forget, 200-300 people in attendance. And I think about 25 to 30 people, if they wanted to, they can upgrade their they can do this add-on thing. And the add-on thing was over the 3 days. Every once in a while, Roger would bring one of these people on stage who upgraded, and he would analyze and scrutinize their voice right live on stage in front of everybody else. And they usually got like 5 to 10 minutes. So the way it worked was on day one, he'd do like an hour and a half talk about something. Then he'd say, okay, we're going to bring somebody up. And he'd bring somebody up, and then maybe 2 or 3. And then he'd continue with his program. Then we'd break for lunch. And after lunch, he'd bring up a couple more people, and then he'd carry on with his program. And the whole thing was about, voices, your voice. And I don't know. I find it really compelling and odd in a sense. Like, what does your voice have to do with empowering you? So if you can imagine sort of like a Tony Robbins sort of like scenario, but 100% linked to your voice. I mean, really, it's kind of strange. It's compelling at the same time. So I'm making this observation while I'm there, curious all at the same time. And yeah. What else happened at the conference? Okay, on the 3rd day, now these conferences, you might have been to some similar stuff, either 1 hour, 4 hour, all day, 2 day, 3 day presentation, where it's really, in a sense, a big Tupperware party, meaning they're going to upsell you something else. And I kind of had that sneaking suspicion that they were leading up to something bigger, and they were. What Roger does, well, he's very successful doing this event and obviously making the upgrades with the people going up on the stage. And on the 3rd day, it was like, aha, there it is. He's pitching his mastermind group, which costs $25,000 a person a year. And he had people who were in his mastermind group go up and give testimonials. There was one guy in particular that gave a testimonial. He's a businessman. He said, yeah, when I signed up with Roger Love's mastermind, I mean, 2 months later, I signed like an $8 million contract that I've been working on. And I don't know that you can make the connection between who knows? I mean, I know when you do any kind of a mastermind thing where you're, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with what a mastermind is. You got to really understand what a mastermind is. And it's basically the same concept in the book Think and Grow Rich, you know, and it's all got to do with getting two or more people together with the intent, purpose of brainstorming and conspiring and creating, well, I guess brainstorming for lack of a better word. And I've done masterminds I've been a part of, and I've started my own in my own city and been very successful at them. And they're kind of amazing when you really think about it. So anyways, but here's what I find bizarre. Here he is, Roger Love, pitching a mastermind. My workflow is all over the page here. He's pitching a mastermind, $25,000 a person to join this mastermind. And he's got these people on stage with solid experience in business and what have you, who are swearing by the effects of said mastermind. Okay, well, that's all fine and dandy. And I'm like, okay, but for me, the thing that I find the most fascinating was the fact that, well, what the hell? How do you attribute the voice? You know, because the whole conference is voices of success. Look up Roger Love. You'll see what I mean. He's a vocal coach. How do you tribute singing and making your voice clearer and all of that stuff with success in life? And I have some ideas. I'm going to share them with you. I'm going to share them with you momentarily. But at the time, I was more intrigued trying to figure it out because I was kind of confused. Like, you know, what is this? What is going on here? But it was cool. You think about it. So now, the idea of using your voice at that time, I'm not a complete stranger to it because I've sung in blues bands quite a bit, and and that winter I started going on stage, open night mic, which is a completely different animal than playing in a band. When you're playing in a band, you got, you know, sax player, bass player, drummer, other guitar player, and you kind of like, it's way less intimidating than when you go on stage on open mic night, and it's just you, your guitar, and the microphone. That is intimidating. Okay, but I started doing that literally that winter, so the same winter, and here I am in Las Vegas doing a 3-day Voices of Success with Roger Love, and then trying to figure it all out. The next year, 2019, I was taking guitar lessons with a guy named Andy Lowe. And now Andy, I've taken guitar lessons before, but by far this guy was just amazing. I was like, this is really something. His style of teaching was really, really cool. I really thought it was really something, and I really enjoyed it. And you know, I was telling him, you know, you could create a course based on this and pitch it on YouTube and what have you, because I just liked the way he formulated his approach. Very non-traditional and very thorough. At least it resonated for a guy like me. So I'm taking guitar lessons and making some progress, and you know, the whole thing is I want to become a better guitar player so that I can go on open mic and have fun and get up on stage and become a more competent guitar player. So at one point in time in the late fall or early fall of that 2019, Andy says to me, he says, okay, now you got to go see Jeff Wiseman. Jeff Wiseman's a local vocal coach. He's like one of the best in and around this area. I would probably put him on par with Roger Love or any vocal coach for that matter. So I knew him because I did pictures of him before, like 7 or 8 years ago or 9 years ago. So I knew who Jeff was. So I contacted Jeff and I said, I hear you're giving lessons. Andy says I should come and see you. And I know why Andy was telling me that. You know, he's like, your guitar skills are coming along, you're all set up there, but you can't sing. He didn't say that to me, but that's how I took it. He says, you can't sing, you can't keep a tune. Well, that's okay. I'm not afraid to admit that. So I was going to do exactly what Andy told me. He said, you got to go see Jeff, go take some vocal lessons. And I did. And I remember driving to my first lesson thinking to myself, what the hell am I getting myself into? He's going to make me sing right away, like right away. I just know it. This is going to be so embarrassing. This is one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life, let alone getting up in front of an audience. Just you, your guitar. I know a lot of musicians can do it, but, you know, when you've been doing that your whole life, and this is completely new to me in that respect, it's just like, da. So, anyways, I'm leading all this up to my theory and my observations as to the voice. Why is the voice so linked to your success? And I think there's some esoteric as well as some practical reasons why. The most obvious one being, if you can become in better control of your voice, you're obviously going to be a better communicator. Okay, but I think it's more than that. You know, when you go to Toastmasters and you become very capable as a public speaker, you know, you can get up there and you can deliver your message, whatever that may be, clearly, in pretty decent confidence, and do it effectively. I mean, it's really going to help you. It's going to help you in life. It's going to help you in business. It's going to help you on all accounts. And that's a good thing, right? Don't you agree? So all of these things. But when you go and take lessons to sing better, and you go to places like Roger Love, Voices of Success, and you go to the 3-day conference, and you're really taking your voice and you're ramping it up, I think you get to approach that whole skill set that you're trying to improve upon, but you're digging down into a much deeper layer as far as your subconscious is concerned, and it's pushing your empowerment. It's pushing your it's not just your ability to control your voice and to become a better singer, a better communicator. But if you can do that, like, you know, I had to get up as soon as I got to Jeff's place and sing in front of him. I was like, that's petrifying. But the more you do it, 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 the better you get, the more control you have, the more confidence you have. Now, when you're singing, it's a different ball game. It's a completely different ball game than public speaking. That's the way I look at it. So it's really challenging me on many, many, many layers. And it kind of makes sense for me at this point in my life, because I've done 30 plus years ago, started Toastmasters, like I mentioned already, and been there, done that. And I still love going to Toastmasters. It's a thing that I really enjoy, and I enjoy helping others. But now it's like doing the singing thing and the vocal conferences and the vocal lessons. It's challenging a new dimension, a new aspect to myself, so that I can achieve new breakthroughs, for lack of a better word. You know, I went in there with the idea that I'm going to learn how to sing so I can do open mic. It's just a fun thing I do. That's all it is. But then I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute. It's probably going to help me, especially if I'm taking lessons. It's probably going to really help me because of the, I know it ties in. It ties in with all things in your life. And if all things in your life have to do with other goals and other desires and other aspirations, including your business or any projects you have, if you become a better singer, it's going to make you better at those things. I guess that's, for lack of a better word, the best way that I can say that. If you can become a better singer, and then when I say a better singer, I'm talking about more confidence, because it really, really triggers a deep, primal, scary part. So I think that control, confidence plays a big role when it comes to singing. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to sort of point that out. A couple interesting observations that I made when I was at my lessons with Jeff, and I'm still going to see him. So I went in 2019 in the fall, Had a great winter that winter doing open mic. I noticed a marked improvement. Other people noticed it too, and it was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Then COVID hit, so that put all that on the back burner. So I just went back this year, and it's 2022 right now. We're in the fall of 2022. So I'm going back to see Jeff. I've been to a bunch of lessons, and I'm going to go to lessons right up until we head back to Costa Rica end of December. And I'll go hopefully a little more enhanced, prepared, skilled because of that when I go back to open mic in January, which I'll be doing hopefully quite a bit. I'm learning a bunch of new songs too, so it's exciting. But something that sort of a technique I've planted in my brain from some of the stuff that Jeff said. He said something a couple lessons ago. He says, I don't believe you. And he's talking about when I'm singing, and I'm like, that's really, really interesting. If you've never seen the movie Walk the Line, the story about Johnny Cash, I mean, when Johnny Cash first went to this recording studio and did his first song, and the guy, I can't remember, he's a famous person, the guy who was sort of listening to Johnny do his songs, and Johnny at the time was doing a lot of gospel songs because he was deep in the gospel, and he's always been a very religious guy. The guy said, if I had a dime or something like that for every gospel singer that came through, I'd be a millionaire. And it's just like, I can't do gospel. There's just way too much of that. And so he kind of said that, and Johnny was like, oh, okay. And he said to Johnny, he says, you got anything else? And no, I can't remember exactly how it goes. You'll have to watch the movie. It's an amazing scene. It just blew me away. And so he says, I got this song, and he starts doing Walk the Line. And, sorry, I'm having a hard time multitasking here. So, and I think he stops him or something, but anyways, he gives Johnny a speech, and he says, you got to sing, who is the most important person in the world to you? And I think Johnny said Jesus. And he says, well, imagine you're singing to Jesus, and Jesus is hanging on a cross or laying in the ditch dying or something like that. You know what I mean? In other words, make him believe you. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, yeah. So when Jeff said to me, I don't believe you, he's in reference to me speaking or singing. And in other words, I'm holding back. I'm not persuasive as I'm singing. So if I can bust through that and get to that layer, that level, while I'm singing, where people will believe me, it'll make me a better singer, we hope. Well, don't you think it'll make me a better day-to-day communicator, or if I'm doing a presentation in front of a bunch of people, yada, yada, yada. Right? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Makes sense, right? I think it makes sense. Tying it together. So anyways, there's two more concepts, one of which was, I don't believe you. Another thing that Jeff told me was, well, you got to push with your diaphragm. And he goes, like, punch it out there, like as if I'm punching you in the gut. So I'm envisioning that, just that punch in the gut, get the power going through the gut to project it outwards. And the other one that was mentioned by Jeff was, I don't believe you, punch it out. What's the other one? He's like, get angry. I'm like, okay. All right, let's maybe turn that to get assertive. But imagine you're just like, I got to say this. I want you to believe me, and you're punching me in the gut, and that's what I'm envisioning now. Those are the sort of three concepts that I'm thinking about as I'm thinking about singing. Does that sound weird? I know, I'm weird. I'm just not right. Anyways, speaking about being not right, you got to watch the new Netflix stand-up by Neil Brennan. I think the guy's a comedic genius, so highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. So yeah, I wanted to sort of talk about that. Geez, it's been 25 minutes already. Where does time fly? And yeah, okay. That's all I got to say about that. I got a lot more workflow to do. I've been taking my sweet time, but that's okay. I wanted to talk to you guys. I thought I was going to be able to say a lot more in a lot less time, but I thought what I had to say about the voice to be interesting. I hope you agree. Tell me what your thoughts are. Give me your comments down below. How important is the voice? I mean, when you think of our voice, it's our main tools of communication, and it could do a lot in our lives. It could play a major role in our lives, and it could help us in so many ways. Me being the shyest kid you've ever known throughout grade school, high school, right through my 20s, I was extremely shy, and I busted through. I've known many people who are like this. They just seem to, like in high school, they're just like very confident speakers. I mean, where the hell did you get that from? I don't know. Some people are predisposed for it, but I believe that being able to speak with confidence is a skill that we can all learn. All right, I'm done talking. We'll talk later.